Admiral Taeho stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars through the massive viewport. The Soul's Pride moved slowly through space near the human colony of New Busan. Everything seemed peaceful. His fleet of 30 ships patrolled the outer edge of human territory, just like they had done for the past 5 years. "Sir, we're getting a message from Nexus Prime," said Captain Dongwu, his second in command. "Ambassador Bo-Ram is about to sign the full membership treaty." Taeho smiled. After 50 years of being junior members, humans would finally have equal status in the Galactic Council. Earth had worked hard for this moment. They had shared their technology, sent their young people to serve in Council military units, and provided resources for the greater good of the galaxy. "Good news, Captain. Our children will grow up as full citizens of the galaxy," Taeho said. Dr. Hae-jin was also on Nexus Prime, representing Earth's scientific community at the ceremony. She had spent decades studying the 12 alien species that made up the Council. The Veltar with their crystal bodies, the water-breathing Mordun, the insect-like Krivak, and 9 other species had become her life's work. She trusted them completely. On Nexus Prime, Ambassador Bo-Ram walked into the Great Council chamber. Representatives from all 12 alien species waited for her. The room was beautiful, with walls that showed the stars and planets of their shared galaxy. She had dreamed of this day since she was a young diplomat. "Ambassador Bo-Ram of Earth," said the Veltar Prime speaker, its crystal voice ringing through the chamber. "Are you ready to bind your species to the eternal brotherhood of the Galactic Council?" "I am," Bo-Ram replied. She stepped forward to the signing podium. The treaty document glowed on a holographic display. With steady hands, she placed her palm on the scanner and spoke the oath. "I, Bo-Ram of Earth, bind humanity to the Galactic Council with full membership and all responsibilities." The moment her palm touched the scanner, everything changed. Alarms screamed across the chamber. Council security forces surrounded the human delegation. Dr. Hae-jin saw weapons pointed at her and her assistants. The alien representatives were not celebrating. They were standing like they had been waiting for this moment. "What is happening?" Bo-Ram demanded. "Order 66 Terminus is now active," announced the Veltar Prime speaker. "The human contamination will be cleansed from the galaxy." Dr. Hae-jin realized the horrible truth. The ceremony was a trap. The signing had activated something terrible. She managed to activate her emergency transmitter before a Krivak soldier stunned her with an energy weapon. The message reached Captain Dongwu just as his sensors detected massive energy signatures appearing throughout human space. Hundreds of alien warships dropped out of hyperspace near every human colony and Earth itself. "Sir, we have incoming ships," his communications officer shouted. "They're not responding to our signals and their weapons are charging." Taeho felt his blood turn cold. The ships attacking them were council vessels. Ships from species that humans had fought beside for 50 years. Ships commanded by officers he had shared meals with and called friends. "All ships, battle stations," he ordered. "This is Admiral Taeho to all human vessels. We are under attack by Council forces. I repeat, the Council is attacking us." The first wave hit Earth's orbital defenses like a hammer. The massive space stations that protected humanity's homeworld were destroyed in minutes. The aliens had been planning this attack for a long time. They knew exactly where to hit and when. Colony after colony went silent. New Seoul, New Tokyo, New Mumbai, all the worlds where humans had built new homes were burning. The Council fleets moved with precision, destroying military bases first, then civilian targets. On his bridge, Taeho watched the tactical display show the destruction of everything he had sworn to protect. Red dots marked dead colonies. Yellow dots marked colonies under attack. Green dots for safe human settlements were disappearing one by one. "Sir, we're getting emergency transmissions from all sectors," reported his communications officer, her voice breaking. "They're asking for help, but we can't reach them in time." Captain Dongwu moved to stand beside his admiral. "Orders, sir?" Taeho studied the display. 30 ships against hundreds. Earth was already lost. The colonies were falling. In a few hours, there might be no humans left alive except for the few thousand on his ships. But he saw something the aliens had not expected. The attacks were so perfectly coordinated that they had left gaps, small spaces between their fleets where human ships might escape. His military mind began working on a new problem. Not how to win this battle, but how. "To save his species, we retreat," he said quietly. "All ships, emergency jump to rendezvous point Omega. We cannot save Earth today, but we will make sure humanity survives." His officers stared at him. Admiral Tae-ho had never retreated from any battle. "Sir, what about the colonies? What about—" "Earth?" asked Captain Dongwu. "They wanted us dead, Captain. All of us. Every man, woman, and child." Tae-ho's voice was getting harder with each word. "They planned this for years while we trusted them, while we served alongside them, while we called them friends." The human fleet jumped to hyperspace just as the alien forces closed in. Behind them, Earth burned. Ahead of them was empty space and an uncertain future. But Admiral Tae-ho was already thinking about what came next. The aliens had made a mistake. They thought humans would fight like they did, with honor, with rules, with mercy. They had studied human military tactics and technology, but they had never studied human history. They had never learned about what humans did to their enemies when they were really angry. "Captain Dongwu, send a message to all surviving human military units. Tell them to gather at the emergency coordinates. Tell them to bring everyone they can save." "What are your orders for when they arrive, sir?" Admiral Tae-ho looked at the tactical display one more time. 50 million humans dead in 6 hours. His friends, his family, his world, all gone because aliens he had trusted decided his species should not exist. "We're going to teach them what humans do when someone tries to wipe us out," he said. "We're going to show them what a real war looks like." The galaxy was about to learn something new about the species they had tried to destroy, something they should have learned before they decided to betray humanity's trust. 3 months had passed since the day humans called the Great Betrayal. Admiral Tae-ho stood in the command center of Asteroid Base Omega, a hidden facility deep in the outer system. Around him, holographic displays showed the terrible numbers. Of Earth's 8 billion people, only 47 million had survived. The survivors were scattered across the galaxy in hidden bases, refugee ships, and underground bunkers on occupied worlds. Every day, more humans died as the Council forces hunted down the remaining settlements. "Sir, we have a transmission coming in," said Commander Soo-jin. She had escaped from Earth after leading the resistance in Seoul for 2 months. Her left arm was artificial now, replaced after a Krivak patrol had nearly killed her. The hologram showed a familiar face. Dr. Hya-jin appeared, though she looked much thinner than before. Behind her was a metal wall with alien markings. "This is Dr. Hya-jin broadcasting from Council Detention Facility 7. I don't have much time before they find this transmission device." Her voice was weak, but determined. "I've been studying my captors for 3 months. The Council species have a critical weakness." Admiral Tae-ho leaned forward. "Any information could help now. They cannot understand our way of fighting. For thousands of years, they have fought wars with rules. They announce their attacks. They target only military facilities at first. They offer surrender terms. They have never faced an enemy that fights like humans do." Dr. Hye-jin paused as footsteps echoed in the background. "The Veltar are physically strong but move slowly. The Mordun need special breathing equipment on most worlds. The Krivak think in groups and cannot make individual decisions quickly. They expect us to fight like they do. Use this knowledge." The transmission cut to static. Admiral Tae-ho knew Dr. Hye-jin was probably dead or captured again, but her information was exactly what he needed. "Get me Engineer Woo-jin," he ordered. Woo-jin had been working non-stop in the hidden shipyards of the asteroid belt. When the attacks began, he had been designing new civilian transport ships. Now he was building weapons of war. "Admiral, I have the prototype ready," Woo-jin reported. Behind him, construction robots worked on a sleek, dark ship that looked nothing like the heavy battlecruisers humans had used before. The Night Hunter class is built for hit-and-run attacks. It's fast, hard to detect, and carries enough firepower to destroy ships 3 times its size. But the best part is the new systems we've developed. He pointed to technical diagrams. "We've reverse-engineered Veltar crystal technology for our energy weapons, Mordin stealth systems for our hulls, Krivak swarm tactics for our fighter squadrons. The Council gave us 50 years to study their technology. Now we're going to use it against them." Admiral Tae-ho examined the designs. These ships could strike without warning and disappear before the enemy could respond, perfect for the kind of war he was planning. General Kite entered the command center. He had been quietly preparing for this day for 10 years. Ever since, he had noticed strange patterns in Council military deployments. His network of agents had been smuggling weapons and supplies to remote locations throughout human space. Admiral, my people have established contact with resistance cells on 43 occupied worlds. We have weapons caches, safe houses, and trained fighters ready to begin operations. How many fighters? Asked Taeho. Over 100,000 and more joining every day. The Council occupation forces are making mistakes. They're treating human civilians harshly, which is creating more resistance fighters. Kite activated a holographic map showing human-occupied worlds. Red dots marked active resistance cells. The aliens don't understand guerrilla warfare. They expect humans to form organized armies and fight pitched battles. Instead, our people are using hit-and-run tactics, sabotage, and terrorism. It's working. Admiral Taeho studied the map. For 3 months, he had been gathering survivors and planning humanity's response. Now he had ships, weapons, trained fighters, and most importantly, he understood the enemy's weaknesses. It's time for our first real counterattack, he announced. General Kite, I want your resistance cells to identify the highest value Veltar supply depot in human space. Engineer Wu Jin, prepare 3 of the new attack ships for combat. What's the mission? Asked Commander Su Jin. We're going to show the galaxy that humanity is not dead. We're going to rescue our people, destroy their supplies, and send a message that this war is just beginning. 2 weeks later, the Night Hunter, Shadow Strike, and Ghost Wind approached the Veltar supply depot near the former human colony of New Incheon. Captain Nari commanded the lead ship. She had lost her entire family in the initial attacks and volunteered for the most dangerous missions. Scanning the target, reported her tactical officer. 12 supply ships, 4 escort cruisers, and approximately 2,000 human prisoners in the detention facility. Remember the plan, Nari told her crew. Fast, hard, and gone before they know what hit them. No mercy for the aliens, but we protect the human prisoners at all costs. The 3 human ships attacked like wolves. They came in fast and low, using the asteroid field for cover. Their new weapons tore through Veltar shields like paper. The alien ships were tough, but slow. By the time they could turn their heavy guns around, the human ships had already moved to new positions. The battle lasted only 20 minutes. All 4 Veltar escort ships were destroyed. The supply vessels were burning wrecks. Most importantly, transport ships had evacuated all 2,000 human prisoners. But Captain Nari had one more job to do. She landed her ship inside the main supply depot and planted a recording device before returning to space. The recording showed human soldiers walking through the destroyed facility, but these were not the same humans the Council had known before. They moved like hunters. Their eyes were cold and hard. When they spoke, their voices carried promises of terrible revenge. The recording was broadcast on all Council communication networks. The message was simple. This is what happens when you try to exterminate humanity. We're coming for you. Back at Asteroid Base Omega, Admiral Taeho watched the mission reports. The operation had been a complete success. They had rescued 2,000 humans, destroyed 3 months of supplies, and shown the galaxy that humanity could still fight. But more importantly, they had gathered intelligence on Council tactics and technology. The aliens were good fighters when they could use their standard strategies, but they were confused and slow when faced with unexpected attacks. Sir, we're receiving reports from resistance cells across the galaxy, said Commander Su Jin. Recruitment is up 300% after news of our victory spread. Humans are ready to fight back. Admiral Taeho nodded. The exodus from Earth was over. The period of hiding and gathering strength was ending. Now it was time to begin the real war. Send orders to all human forces, he commanded. Operation Ghost. Storm begins in 1 week. Every resistance cell, every ship, every fighter is to hit the Council forces simultaneously. It's time to teach them what happens when they underestimate humanity. The galaxy was about to learn a hard lesson about the species they had tried to destroy. 1 year after the Great Betrayal, the galaxy had changed. Human ships moved through the darkness like ghosts, striking without warning and vanishing before the Council forces could respond. What had begun as genocide had become something the alien species had never experienced, a war of survival against an enemy that refused to fight by their rules. Captain Nari stood on the bridge of the Ghost of Busan, watching her target through the view screen. A Mordoon supply convoy moved slowly through the asteroid field, protected by 4 escort ships. The aliens thought they were safe in the deep space between star systems. They were wrong. "All ships report ready," said her tactical officer, Lieutenant Heywan. The young woman had joined the resistance after watching Krivak's soldiers kill her parents on New Daegu. Now she commanded a squadron of the new Viper-class fighters. "Remember, we hit fast and hard. Take out the escorts first, then board the supply ships. We need those medical supplies for the refugee camps," Nari ordered. The Ghost of Busan had been built using technology stolen from all 3 major council species. Its hull used Mordoon's stealth plating that made it nearly invisible to most sensors. Its weapons were powered by modified Veltar crystal technology. Its computer systems used Krivak collective processing methods. The result was a ship unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It could appear anywhere, strike with devastating force, and disappear before the enemy could even understand what had happened. "Launching fighters," reported Heywan. 20 Viper-class fighters sped away from the ship. Each one was piloted by someone who had lost everything to the Council forces. They fought with a fury that terrified alien crews. The attack was over in minutes. The Morden escorts were destroyed before they could send a distress signal. The supply ships were boarded and their crews captured. Most importantly, the cargo holds were full of medical equipment desperately needed by human survivors. But Captain Nari had learned to do more than just steal supplies. She had learned to send messages. "Prepare the alien crew for spacing," she ordered. "Captain, they're trying to surrender," said one of her officers. "They had their chance to surrender a year ago. Instead, they chose to help murder 8 billion humans." Nari's voice was cold as ice. "Space them all." The Morden prisoners were pushed out of airlocks into the vacuum of space. Their deaths were recorded and transmitted on all Council communication networks. The message was always the same. This is what happens to those who help murder humanity. Meanwhile, on the occupied world of New Busan, Commander Sujin led a different kind of war. Her resistance fighters had turned the once peaceful colony into a nightmare for the Council occupation forces. Alien soldiers lived in constant fear, never knowing when humans would emerge from the shadows to kill them. "The supply depot is heavily guarded," reported her Lieutenant Dongmin. He had once been a university professor. Now he was an expert in making bombs from civilian materials. "Krivak patrol schedules?" asked Sujin. "Every 4 hours. They always use the same routes because they're afraid to go into areas where humans might be hiding." Sujin smiled grimly. The insect-like aliens were used to working together in large groups. When separated from their hive-minded companions, individual Krivak became confused and frightened. "Set the charges along their patrol route. Make sure we get all of them. I don't want any survivors to report back to their superiors." The attack happened at dawn. 24 Krivak soldiers died in the explosion. But more importantly, their bodies were arranged in a specific pattern that human resistance fighters used as a warning. Any alien who found the scene would know that humans had been there. Back in space, Dr. Young-ho worked in his secret laboratory aboard the mobile research station Darwin's Revenge. The former university professor had become humanity's leading expert in biological warfare. His target was not alien ships or bases, but the aliens themselves. "The Veltar virus is ready for testing," he reported to Admiral Taeho during their encrypted communication. "It attacks the crystal matrix that makes up their bodies. The infection causes their internal structure to shatter from within." "How long does it take to work?" asked the Admiral. 72 hours from exposure to death. But the best part is that it's contagious. One infected Veltar can spread the virus to an entire base before anyone realizes what's happening." Dr. Young-ho had developed similar biological weapons for each Council species. The Morden respiratory virus caused their breathing apparatus to fail. The Krivak neural parasite drove them insane with fear and paranoia. "We'll deploy them during the next major operation," decided Taeho. "But remember, Doctor, these weapons are only to be used against military targets. We're not trying to exterminate entire species like they did to us." "Understood, Admiral. But I should mention that several resistance cells have been asking for Samples to use against civilian targets. Admiral Tejo paused. A year of war had changed all of them. The humans who survived the Great Betrayal were harder, colder, and more ruthless than their ancestors. Sometimes he worried about what his species was becoming. "No civilian targets," he ordered. "We're not them. We don't murder innocents." But even as he said the words, Tejo knew that the line between military and civilian was becoming blurred. The Council had started this war by targeting human families. Now human fighters were responding with the same brutality. Lieutenant Hei Wan's fighter squadron had become legendary throughout the galaxy. Her pilots could outfly anything the Council species had. Their Viper fighters were so fast and maneuverable that alien targeting computers couldn't lock onto them. "New target acquired," she reported during a raid on a Veltar military base. "Looks like a training facility for their officer candidates." "Perfect," replied Captain Nari from the Ghost of Busan. "Young officers are easier to break than veterans. Let's give them a lesson they'll never forget." The attack on the military academy was not just about destroying enemy facilities. It was about psychological warfare. The human forces wanted every alien in the galaxy to know that nowhere was safe from human revenge. The academy's defenses were strong, but they were designed to stop traditional attacks. The aliens had never faced enemies who used fear as a weapon. Human soldiers moved through the facility like death itself, appearing suddenly to kill defenders and vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. The young alien officer candidates had never seen real combat. When human fighters emerged from ventilation shafts and maintenance tunnels, many of them simply ran. Others begged for mercy in languages the humans had learned during their 50 years in the Council, but mercy was something humanity had stopped offering. The attack was recorded from beginning to end. The footage showed alien military cadets crying in terror as human soldiers methodically eliminated them. When the recording was broadcast across Council space, it had exactly the effect Admiral Tejo had hoped for. Fear Council species began refusing to serve in human-contested sectors. Military recruitment dropped as young aliens decided they would rather face court-martial than face human fighters. Entire bases were abandoned when their defenders heard rumors of approaching human ships. "Sir, we're receiving reports from all sectors," Commander Sujin told Admiral Tejo. "Council forces are pulling back to defensive positions around their core worlds. They're giving up territory to avoid fighting us." Tejo studied the tactical displays. In 1 year, humanity had gone from victims of genocide to predators that the galaxy feared. The Council's perfect plan to eliminate the human species had backfired completely. Good. Let them run. Let them hide in their safe spaces and tell themselves they're still winning. His voice carried a promise of worse things to come. "Because we're just getting started. They wanted to see what happens when you try to exterminate humanity. Now they're learning." The galaxy was beginning to understand that they had made a terrible mistake when they betrayed humanity's trust. 2 years after the Great Betrayal, the word human had become a curse word in most alien languages. What had started as the Council's plan to eliminate humanity had transformed into their worst nightmare. The galaxy now belonged to the hunters, and humans were the apex predators. Admiral Ji-hoon commanded the second human fleet from the bridge of his flagship, the Incheon's Fury. Unlike Admiral Tejo's original fleet of human-built ships, Ji-hoon's vessels were all captured alien warships, modified with human technology. They were faster, stronger, and deadlier than anything the Council had ever built. "Sir, long-range sensors are detecting a Veltar battle group approaching the Kepler sector," reported his tactical officer. 12 heavy cruisers and support ships." "How many human refugees are still in that sector?" asked Ji-hoon. "Approximately 50,000 in hidden settlements on 3 worlds." Admiral Ji-hoon had once been Admiral Tejo's rival in the old days, when humans served the Council faithfully. They had competed for promotions and argued about tactics. Now they worked together with a single goal, making the Council pay for every human life they had taken. "Deploy the Reaper units to those worlds. I want every human civilian evacuated before the Veltar arrive, then we'll show them what happens when they threaten our people." Commander Hyunwoo received the order aboard his stealth ship Silent Death. His Reaper Special Forces unit had become the stuff of nightmares for Council military personnel. They could survive for months behind enemy lines, moving through alien environments like ghosts. "Sir, we have confirmation that all human civilians are safe," reported his lieutenant after the evacuation was complete. "The Veltar fleet is entering the system now." "Good. Begin Phase 2. The Veltar battle group entered the Kepler system expecting to find defenseless human settlements. Instead, they found something much worse. Their sensors detected no human ships, no defensive installations, nothing that looked like a threat. But humans had learned to use the Council's own psychology against them. The crystal beings valued order and predictability. They expected enemies to fight according to established patterns. What they found instead was chaos. The first Veltar ship to enter orbit around the third planet triggered a massive gravity mine hidden in the planet's upper atmosphere. The explosion tore the heavy cruiser in half, killing all 3,000 crew members instantly. As the surviving ships scattered in confusion, more traps activated. Asteroid-mounted missile launchers emerged from hiding to fire salvos of fusion. Warheads. Cloaked fighter squadrons appeared from behind planetary rings to strafe the alien vessels with energy weapons. But the worst part for the Veltar was the psychological attack that accompanied the ambush. Human voices filled their communication channels, speaking in perfect Veltar language, describing in detail what they planned to do to any survivors. "This is Commander Hyun Woo of the Human Reaper Forces," the voice said calmly. "You came here to murder human families. Instead, you found us waiting. Your ships are dying, your crews are afraid, and we are just getting started." The Veltar battle group was completely destroyed within 2 hours. But more importantly, the entire engagement was recorded and broadcast throughout Council space. The message was clear. There was nowhere in the galaxy where humans could not reach their enemies. Dr. Min Seo had turned psychology into a weapon of war. Her terror warfare division no longer simply killed Council forces. They left carefully arranged scenes designed to break the minds of anyone who found them. "The latest reports from Sector 7 indicate complete success," she told Admiral Tae-ho during their secure communication. "The Krivak rescue team that found their base has refused to return to duty. 3 of them had complete mental breakdowns." "What did they find?" asked Tae-ho. "The bodies of their colleagues arranged to tell the story of the humans' attack. Each position showed a different stage of the battle. The final display showed the base commander's body positioned as if he was still trying to call for help. Dr. Min Seo's methods were brutal but effective. Council military personnel had begun deserting rather than face human forces. Entire sectors were being abandoned as alien commanders decided that holding territory was not worth the psychological trauma of fighting humanity. Meanwhile, the political structure of the Galactic Council was crumbling. The unity that had allowed them to plan humanity's genocide was breaking apart under the pressure of human revenge. "The Krivak have withdrawn their fleets to defend their home systems," reported Dr. Hai-jin, who now served as Admiral Tae-ho's intelligence chief after being rescued from Council detention. "The Morden are attempting to negotiate separately with our forces. The Veltar are demanding that all remaining species contribute ships for one final assault against us." "Let them argue among themselves," said Tae-ho. "The more they fight each other, the easier our job becomes." Dr. Hae-jin had discovered the Council's greatest weakness during her imprisonment. Their decision-making process required unanimous agreement from all 12 member species. As long as humans could keep them arguing with each other, the Council could not mount an effective response. "I have a proposal, Admiral. Instead of fighting all 12 species at once, we should force them to fight each other." "How?" "Operation Prometheus. Simultaneous attacks on the homeworlds of 3 different Council species, each designed to look like it was carried out by a different Council member. The plan was audacious and complex. Human forces would attack Veltar colonies using modified Krivak weapons. They would raid Morden facilities with stolen Veltar technology. They would destroy Krivak installations using Morden stealth ships. "Each species will think they're being betrayed by their allies," explained Dr. Hai-jin. "They'll start fighting each other instead of focusing on us." Admiral Tae-ho approved the plan. 2 weeks later, Operation Prometheus began. Captain Na-ri led the attack on the Veltar mining colony of Crystal Falls. Her ships used modified Krivak swarm tactics and energy signatures that would confuse any investigation. To the Veltar survivors, it would look like their insectoid allies had betrayed them. At the same time, Commander Sujin's forces hit a Morden underwater city using weapons that appeared to be Veltar crystal technology. the aquatic aliens, would think their crystalline partners had turned against them. The third strike targeted a Krivak hive world, using ships that broadcast Mordan identification signals. The insect-like species would believe their water-breathing allies had attacked them. All three attacks succeeded perfectly. But more importantly, they had the desired effect on Council unity. Within days, Veltar fleets were moving to attack Krivak positions. Mordun forces engaged Veltar ships near the border systems. The carefully planned alliance that had destroyed humanity was tearing itself apart. "Sir, we're monitoring Council communication networks," reported the intelligence officer. "All three species are accusing each other of betrayal. Fleet movements indicate they're preparing for war against their former allies." Admiral Tae-ho watched the tactical displays showing Council fleets moving away from human territory to fight each other. The species that had united to commit genocide against humanity were now committing genocide against themselves. "Excellent. Let them destroy each other. It saves us the trouble." But even as he celebrated this victory, Tae-ho knew that the war was changing his people. The humans who survived the Great Betrayal were not the same species that had joined the Galactic Council 50 years ago. They were harder, colder, more ruthless. Sometimes he wondered if they were becoming the monsters the Council had claimed they were. Then he would remember Earth burning, remember the 8 billion humans who had died because aliens they trusted had decided humanity should not exist. "Sir, incoming priority message from Fleet Admiral So Young," announced his communications officer. The hologram of his superior officer appeared. Fleet Admiral So Young had recently been promoted to command all human military forces after Admiral Tae-ho's planned retirement. She was younger than him, but just as determined to make the Council pay for their crimes. "Admiral Tae-ho, Operation Prometheus has exceeded all expectations. Council forces are fighting each other across 17 star systems. Casualty reports indicate they've already lost more ships fighting each other than we've destroyed in the past year." "What are your orders for Phase 2? Asked Tae-ho. "We let them finish destroying each other, then we move in to claim what's left." As the communication ended, Admiral Tae-ho looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien fleets were burning. Species that had existed for millions of years were destroying each other because they had made the mistake of trying to exterminate humanity. The galaxy was learning the hard way that humans were not just another species to be eliminated. They were survivors, adapters, and when pushed to the edge of extinction, they became something much more dangerous than anyone had imagined. 3 years after the Great Betrayal, the galaxy had been transformed beyond recognition. Half of the Galactic Council's member species had either destroyed each other in civil wars or withdrawn to their homeworlds in defeat. The remaining 6 species huddled in heavily fortified systems, their once mighty fleets reduced to desperate defensive forces. Fleet Admiral So Young stood in the command center of humanity's greatest achievement, the mobile battle station New Earth. Built from the hulks of destroyed Council ships and powered by technology stolen from a dozen alien races, it was larger than any vessel the galaxy had ever seen. "Admiral, the final count is in," reported her Chief of Staff, Commander Jae-min. "We have over 2 million ships in the combined human fleets. Our ground forces number 15 million combat veterans. We have operational bases in 400 star systems." So Young studied the holographic display showing the current state of the galaxy. Green dots marked systems under human control. Red dots showed the remaining Council strongholds. Yellow dots indicated neutral systems where alien species had surrendered without fighting. 3 years ago, they tried to exterminate us because they thought we were dangerous," she said quietly. "Now they're about to learn what dangerous really means." The transformation of humanity had been complete. The peaceful species that had joined the Galactic Council as eager junior members no longer existed. In their place was something the galaxy had never seen before: a unified human civilization dedicated entirely to war. President Yoon-ji addressed the surviving human population from her headquarters on the fortified world of New Seoul. Behind her, banners displayed the names of every human world that had been destroyed in the initial attacks. The list was long. "My fellow humans," she began, her voice carrying to every human settlement in the galaxy. "For 3 years, we have fought to survive. We have adapted. We have grown strong. And now, The time has come for the final accounting, she paused, looking directly into the camera. The remnants of the Galactic Council have activated an ancient weapon. They plan to use it to destroy every star system where humans live. They would rather see the galaxy burn than admit they were wrong, to try to exterminate us. The weapon President Yunji spoke of was real. Intelligence reports confirmed that the surviving Council species had discovered a relic from an extinct civilization, a device capable of causing stars to go supernova. Their plan was simple. If they could not defeat humanity, they would destroy everything. They have given us a choice, continued President Yunji. Surrender and accept extermination, or watch them murder every living thing in the galaxy out of spite. But they have forgotten something important about humans. We don't accept impossible choices. We make our own. Ambassador Jae-min had once been a university student studying alien languages. The Council's betrayal had turned him into a soldier, and 3 years of war had made him into something harder. Now he served as humanity's voice to the remaining alien species. Standing in the ruins of the original Council chambers on Nexus Prime, he delivered humanity's response to the weapon threat. The speech was broadcast across the galaxy on every communication network that still functioned. To the surviving members of the former Galactic Council, he began, his scarred face showing no emotion. You came to the stars as conquerors and found only victims to prey upon. We came as friends and found only enemies waiting to betray us. Behind him, human soldiers stood guard in the same chamber where the genocide had been planned 3 years earlier. You say you will activate your weapon rather than face defeat. You threaten to murder every living being in the galaxy because you cannot accept that you were wrong about us. Very well, we accept your challenge. Jae-min stepped closer to the camera. But understand this, if you choose mutual annihilation, it will not be mutual. We will survive. We will adapt. We will endure. And when the fires die down and the ashes settle, we will still be here. Can you say the same about your species? The threat was not an empty one. Human engineers had been working on survival plans since the weapon was discovered. Deep space habitats, generation ships, underground bunkers on planets far from the galactic core. Humanity was preparing to survive even the death of stars. Fleet Admiral So Young authorized Operation Endgame the moment the Council's ultimatum expired. The largest military campaign in galactic history began with simultaneous attacks on every remaining Council homeworld. The human armada that approached the Veltar home system was a sight that would have been impossible to imagine 3 years earlier. Thousands of ships moved in perfect formation, their hulls bearing the scars of countless battles. They were crewed by survivors who had lost everything and now fought with the fury of the truly desperate. All ships report ready, announced Captain Nari from the bridge of her new flagship, the Ghost of Earth. She commanded the assault on the Veltar homeworld itself, leading a force of 500 ships against the aliens' last stronghold. The Veltar had prepared their defenses for 3 years. Massive orbital platforms surrounded their crystal cities. Millions of automated defense systems waited to repel any attack. Their entire remaining fleet had been positioned to make humanity pay dearly for victory, but they still did not understand the enemy they faced. The human attack did not come from space. It came from within their own system. Commander Hyun-woo's Reaper forces had been hiding inside asteroids and dead moons for months, waiting for this moment. When the signal came, they emerged like death itself. Fusion charges detonated inside the orbital platforms. Sabotage teams disabled the defense networks. Elite human soldiers materialized inside Veltar command centers, striking with brutal efficiency. At the crystalline aliens who had helped plan humanity's extinction, the battle for the Veltar homeworld lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the proud crystal cities lay in ruins. The species that had provided the technology for humanity's attempted genocide was broken and defeated. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. The Morden underwater cities were drained and left airless. The Krivak hive worlds were poisoned with bioweapons that turned their collective consciousness against itself. One by one, the species that had voted for humanity's destruction faced their own extinction. But the final battle was yet to come. The last remnants of the Council leadership had gathered on Nexus Prime with their ultimate weapon, the ancient Device sat in the center of the great chamber where humanity's genocide had been planned, ready to trigger the destruction of every star in the galaxy. Fleet Admiral So Young led the assault personally. The New Earth and her escort fleet faced the combined last ships of 6 alien species in the space around the Council's capital world. The battle was fierce, but brief. The Council forces fought with desperation, knowing that defeat meant the end of everything they had built over millions of years. But desperation was not enough against an enemy that had been forged in the fires of betrayal and genocide. When the last Council ship was destroyed, human troops landed on Nexus Prime. They fought their way through the capital city, past automated defenses and the remaining alien soldiers who chose to die fighting rather than surrender. Fleet Admiral So Young entered the Council chamber with her personal guard. Inside, the surviving alien leaders waited beside their weapon. The Veltar Prime Speaker, the Morden Deep King, the Krivak Hive Queen, and representatives of 3 other species stood ready to destroy the galaxy rather than face defeat. "You have won," said the Veltar Prime Speaker, its crystal voice cracking with despair. "But we will not allow you to rule over our graves. Activate the weapon and let the universe judge whether humanity deserved to survive." Fleet Admiral So Young studied the aliens who had tried to exterminate her species. They looked smaller now, diminished by defeat and the weight of their failures. "You want to destroy the galaxy because you cannot accept that you were wrong about us," she said. "You still think this is about conquest, about ruling over others. You still don't understand what you created when you betrayed humanity." She gestured to her soldiers, who moved to secure the weapon. "We never wanted to rule the galaxy. We wanted to be part of it. You could have had us as allies, friends, partners in building something greater than any single species could achieve alone. Instead, you chose fear. You chose hatred. You chose genocide. The alien leaders were taken into custody. The weapon was disabled. And in the chamber where humanity's destruction had been planned, Fleet Admiral So Young made the announcement that would reshape the galaxy. The Galactic Council is dissolved. The species that survive will do so under human protection and human law. You wanted to see what humans do when pushed to the edge of extinction. Now you will learn what we do when we hold the power of life and death over our former enemies. Ambassador Jamin took his place at the podium where alien leaders had once announced humanity's doom. Behind him, the flags of dead human worlds hung as silent witnesses to the price of the Council's betrayal. "To the surviving alien species," he said, his words carrying to every inhabited world in the galaxy. "You have a choice to make. Accept the new order and live under human guidance, or follow your leaders into extinction. Choose wisely. We have learned to be patient, but our patience has limits."